The following podcast contains spoilers and words that my mother would prefer I did not say. We watch the thing. We watch the thing. Hello everybody and welcome to We Watched a Thing with your boys B, Dizzle and Dave. It's a fun one today. I'm filling some holes. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm good.
So, unlike me, you have seen all of these movies. Let's just say up top, it says title of the episode, but Indiana Jones is what we're looking at today.
We are Jonesing for adventure, we are. I've seen all of them. I haven't seen the new one yet, but I've seen all of the others. Yeah. It has been probably 10, 15 years since I've seen any of them.
Yeah, right.
So
okay.
I rewatched them for this.
Yeah.
It was coming at them with fresh eyes, I guess.
Yeah. So Raiders is the only one that I had seen, which I had never seen, and Topher made me watch it for this show probably about 2.5 years ago. And I am ashamed to say that my memory is so bad that I had forgotten just about everything from that movie. So I rewatched it for this. But you will be happy to know that I did this the right way, watched them in their intended order, and I saw Dial of Destiny first. So for me, Dial of Destiny is now my Indiana Jones. So that's...
I haven't seen it yet, so no spoilers. But
no spoilers. We'll talk about that one next week when we'll do Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny and a little bit of a cheeky double next week. But yeah, so I went and saw that first for no reason other than there was a time that work. Nooska and I were having date night. We were like, yeah, look, I got to watch this anyway. Let's do it. And then I watched the first three after that. So
right,
maybe it was silly. I guess we'll see. Do you have a favourite of these movies? Because I know that it can be quite contentious among indie fans.
I do, and it's changed in the last week. I would have always said that Raiders was my favourite.
Yeah.
And it's still up there.
Yeah.
But it's probably my second favourite now.
Oh, are you going to tell us now what the favourite is, or will you reveal it when we get there?
We may get to it. We may get to it next week. You don't know.
Little bit of Crystal Skull fandom.
You're not getting to it next week. It'll be today.
Well, let's get to it. And I also will spoil that Raiders is not my favourite either. But let's start with Raiders. I'm not going to go through the whole like I usually do for every movie. Let's just go through the franchise. So Indiana Jones is an American media franchise that began in 1981 with the film Raiders of the Lost Ark, consisting of 5 films and a prequel television series, along with games, comics, tie-in novels. The series depicts the adventures of Dr. Henry Walton Indiana Jones, a fictional professor of archaeology, played, of course, by the legendary Harrison Ford. He really is the only character that plays through all 3 of these films? He's the only actor that's in all 3, right?
Yeah, well, the second one is sort of, I guess, outside.
Yeah, it's a prequel.
It's set before the first film, and he really is the only one in that. The rest of them have more of a sort of a semi-through line with supporting cast. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into it. Let's kick it off with Raiders. Give me your thoughts on Raiders first. Like, when did you see this film? Did you see this when it was released?
I did, yes.
Yeah,
right.
I
saw this in cinemas when it came out. What was this? 1980? Mid-80s?
1981.
Oh, shit. So I was like 8 or 9 or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this was one of the best things I'd ever seen in my life at that age. It was rollicking good adventure. And, I mean, it really is a callback to those classic serial adventures, as it was intended to be by Lucas and Spielberg, to the stuff they loved in their childhood.
Yeah.
So, no, I loved it when I saw it. I thought it was smashing good fun. I loved Indiana Jones as a character. He was cool as shit. He had his whip and his leather jacket, and he was, and he was fighting Nazis, and that's good. You're meant to do that. So, no, I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah. I have to confess that, yes, I should have seen this series much earlier because it is right in my wheelhouse. Much like you, I love an adventure film. I've long said that The Mummy is my Indiana Jones. And I stand by...
Which is fair.
Yeah, I stand by The Mummy is kind of my version of this. But I got to say, these are good, fun movies. Like you said, it really is a throwback to those serials of yesteryear, the kind of 1930s adventure serials. And yeah, Indiana Jones as a character is a great piece of design. Like one of the first things you learn when you're doing any kind of animation is to look at the silhouette and say, if you just see a silhouette of this character, how identifiable are they?
Yeah, exactly.
And they always use Indy as a great example because
he's up there with Darth Vader.
In fact, he's probably, if you think about just the silhouette, he's probably even more distinct than Vader. So it really is an awesome piece of design. And we get straight into I love that these movies just go straight for it. Just the second they start, you're into some adventure.
Yeah, that opening sequence with a very young Alfred Molina is one of the best parts of the film. It's
agree.
Absolutely fantastic. It's got one of the most iconic scenes, no matter how ludicrous it is when you think about it, with the giant marble boulder chasing him. It's absolutely ridiculous when you think about it. But so iconic and been referenced so many times by so many other things.
I mean, I always go to The Simpsons. Yeah, it really is fantastic. That I have to say, I think the opening scene of Raiders is probably my favorite scene in any of these movies, having now watched all of them except for Crystal Skull. Hero, shut up. Not my favorite movie, but definitely my favorite scene. I think it really is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a fabulous there are a few scenes actually in that first film that I enjoy immensely.
Yeah.
That one being one of them. I love the drinking competition where we're introduced to Marion.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, and the sort of Nazi fight scene that follows it.
Yeah.
They're probably two of my favourite scenes in that film, I think,
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't think we can talk about... And obviously, we're going to talk about the franchise as a whole at some point, but this is the one that kicked it off. This score by John Williams is fucking sensational. It is really, really one of his best. I think that his work here is possibly even better than Star Wars.
He's got that sort of immortal trilogy of Superman, Star Wars, and Raiders that all sort of dropped within a few years of each other. And just like, fuck, you were on fire then, mate.
Yeah. Can I just say one thing, though?
Yeah.
Geez, Indy's a bit of a creeper. I can't be alone. It's like,
thank you. I hadn't seen these in a while, but geez, the George Lucas kind of creepy misogyny pervades these films that I didn't pick up on at the time. I mean, this film, and we'll get to the other films. This film, the Marion story.
Oh, how old must she have been when they first?
Well, I can tell you, in the final script, she was 15 when they hooked up.
Oh, Jesus!
And he was obviously in his 20s, or whatever, because he was a working archaeologist studying under her father.
Yeah.
The only reason that she's 15 is because Spielberg put his foot down. Lucas originally had her as 11.
Oh, you're fucking kidding me! That cannot be true.
It's apparently that's true. I've read that on multiple sources, and Spielberg said, "Dude."
So that was probably like the compromise,
and wanted to make her like an 18 or whatever.
Yeah.
And apparently Lucas said, 15's as high as I'll go. Any older than that, and it's not interesting.
Well, hopefully he wasn't saying that about his lifestyle. I had no idea that Lucas was basically Roman Polanski.
Because I mean, the dialogue in it, you knew what you were doing. I was a child.
Yeah, a literal child.
It's pretty wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like, I think Indy's more of a player than Bond. Like, you think of Bond and his multiple Bond women.
Yeah. I mean, in Bond, and they're both kind of, well, Bond, the Bond films where that's sort of prevalent, mainly sort of 60s, 70s.
Yes.
Brosnan, by the time you got to Brosnan, it was more about technology and shit.
Yeah.
But your Roger Moore and your Sean Connery, sure. But that's 60s, 70s, they're a product of their time.
Yeah.
These films are in the 80s.
Yes.
And sure, they're harking back to the 30s. Maybe they went a bit far with that and just went, well, we need to have him slap his women, slap the women around a bit. But it's all through these three films. There's a number of bits where I just went, ooh, yeah, that didn't strike me this way when I was younger, but yeesh.
Yeah.
Indy's a bit of a cunt.
Totes in approach. Yeah, he's not a great dude. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Which is ironic when you've got someone like Connery playing his father, and who is notorious for saying things like, "Oh, sometimes you need to give women a bit of a slap."
I'm not saying it's good, but sometimes if you've tried everything else and she's still not listening, I think it's perfectly okay to hit a woman. Let's talk about Temple of Doom then. I'm going to tell you a secret here. I didn't know this was a prequel. Did you? Did people know it was a prequel at the time?
I think so. I mean, I don't know how many. I mean, they clearly tell you the years that they're set at the start of each film. So
I mean, that's what I mean. Once it started, I knew. But yeah,
how many people sort of remember? But I mean, I guess because Temple of Doom's set in what, 35?
Yeah, it's like 2 years prior to
So I guess as soon as that came up, and if people were paying attention, they would have gone, oh, well, this is set, the other one had Nazis in it, so this is probably set a bit earlier because they weren't really doing the Nazi thing, even though the party existed.
Yeah.
So maybe, but, probably not. People probably just assumed it was a sequel until they read later, maybe.
So where are you on Temple of Doom?
I used to have a real soft spot for Temple of Doom because it was kind of like the Red-Headed Stepchild, but when there were only 3 of these. It was the one that people didn't rate as highly. I liked it because when it came out, things like the banquet scene I just thought were fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because I like horror movies and they were kind of dark and creepy. There were a lot of bugs. But fucking hate Willie. Spielberg, don't put your fucking wife in shit because she's awful. Still hated her on rewatch. It's a little bit racist this time.
It is definitely racist.
It's not very
racist.
Nice about the Indian people.
No, it's not at all.
This whole, the dirty foreigners, and even the Prime Minister, when he has a banquet, he's eating eels and monkeys' brains and shit because they're animals.
Yeah.
It all felt a bit off on rewatch. It's still a fun adventure. Yeah. There's still some, Short Round is still awesome.
Short Round's great. It's funny. I when I think of Indiana Jones, like I haven't seen them before this week. I think of Indian Short Round. I really thought that they were like a team the whole way through everything.
No, he's only in the weird stepchild movie that's not really part of the canon.
And let me say this, I actually do enjoy this movie a lot. Like, yes, there's some severely racist undertones as well as overtones. and yeah, I don't like Willie. I like that this is...
There needs to be a fan edit where she gets killed because she's fucking terrible.
I like that this is like...
But you do get everyone's favourite feminist, Indy, lashing her with a whip and dragging her to him so he can forcibly kiss her against her will. Go, boy. Whoa.
I do like that this movie is its own standalone adventure. I think that's kind of cool, and I can kind of see what they were going for at the time. Given that they were harking back to serials, it's an interesting choice to have the second movie not continue on from the first one. But I kind of like it. They went that kind of, all over the shop. You can take place at any place in time. And I think their big thing is getting away from the Nazis again, rather than doubling up on it. But there's a lot to like about this film, I think.
It does make me wonder, because obviously Lucas is down as writer on all of these films.
Yeah.
It's his baby, really, and Spielberg is his directing partner. But you have, while the first film you had Lawrence Kasdan and Philip Kaufman co-writing, which is probably why it's a better story. This time round, he's roped in his go-to writing people who did Howard the Duck and American Graffiti. Which possibly is why it's not quite as good in terms of the writing. Because I get a sense that George sits very much in the back, like Jabba the Hutt with a beard, and just sort of goes, more women slapping.
Make her 11.
but has others actually write the dialogue and so on.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this film is I mean, in my opinion anyway, it's lacking compared to the first one in the actual script writing and dialogue.
Yeah.
Leaving aside the story itself.
Yeah.
But you do have an iconic mining car chase that makes no sense physically, but is lots and lots of fun.
Yeah, this for me is where the franchise started to go a little bit fast and furious. Just kind of like, throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, I mean, why there are pools of lava underneath the Prime Minister's palace.
Yep.
There are a lot of questions that could be levied at this in terms of the logic behind it.
Yeah.
I can understand why it's Tarantino's favorite, because it is darker and there's more kind of his type of stuff, but
well, there's lots of racism, which I know Tarantino's all for.
There's your racism and misogyny. There's not enough feet probably for him, but it is more up his alley. I'm taking it this isn't your favourite of the series either.
This is not my favourite of the series. In fact, maybe we should do some rankings, some scores. Raiders, I'm going to give an 8. This, I'm going to give a 6. Where are you?
I'm with you on both.
On both? Okay, sweet.
Exactly the same, yeah.
Well, let's move over then to last...
Raiders has got a big nostalgia bent for me, which keeps it at an 8, even though on rewatch I'm sort of like, I'm seeing the flaws, and I don't have the childlike first watch on it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of, when you're that familiar with something, you're looking at flaws more than you're looking at the good stuff, but it's still an 8 because it is a great... It's not the greatest adventure film of all time, which is probably how I would have described it prior to this most recent watch.
Yeah, okay.
I would have probably said it's the best of this kind of adventure thing. I would probably put it on par with The Mummy now in a number 2 spot, and number 1 adventure film would probably be
Cutthroat
The Man
Island,
Who Would Be King.
Of course. Sorry,
John Huston's The Man Who Would Be King with Sean Connery and Michael Caine. There you go.
I haven't seen that.
That is a fucking rip snorter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, is that a King Arthur story?
No.
No? Okay.
No, it's a Rudyard Kipling thing.
Right.
Christopher Plummer, I think from memory, plays Rudyard Kipling in a little intro where he meets Michael Caine's character, and Michael Caine then recounts this story of he and Sean Connery, his best mate, as they go and try and install themselves as kings in this fictional Istan type country.
Yeah, right.
Around that area above India. And it's got Michael Caine's beautiful wife in it as an Indian princess.
Yep.
And it's a ripper.
Oh, I should definitely check it out then. Well, I guess that brings us over to The Last Crusade, which we can all make the well-educated assumption is your favourite indie film now.
It is, yeah. Yep.
Even with Connery.
Oh, he's the best thing about it. One of the things that make this so good is the interplay between he and Harrison Ford.
The father-son relationship definitely brings a different element to this film.
And particularly coming after Temple of Doom, you've got Sala back, you've got much more screen time from the immortal Denham Elliott, who is just so fucking good as Marcus Brody.
Yeah.
You've got Hitler making a cameo, which was a lot of fun. I'd actually forgotten that scene. That's great. And I think the story is, I mean, I love Arthurian legend as you do, so that story is more interesting to me than the Ark of the Covenant.
Same. I think story-wise, this is absolutely the strongest of the three. I love the search for the Holy Grail, the search for his father, the way they two kind of weave together. I love the interplay between him and Sean Connery. I personally don't love Sean Connery in the role, and I don't like Elsa Schneider either as a character. She's better than Willa, don't get me wrong.
She's no Marion Ravenwood, but
no,
she is a Nazi, so...
Yeah. Did you see
she
that
gets her
twist coming?
comeuppance. Oh, look how blonde she is. It was always going to happen. She's a fucking Aryan poster girl. But she gets her comeuppance, and then she gets her comeuppance again in Triple R, where she's the villainess in that. You haven't seen that yet,
I
have you?
haven't, no, but I have heard people say that she's in it. I didn't know she was the villain, so thank you for the spoilers, Dave.
She's a white person in India. I don't think it's a huge giveaway.
So tell us what else makes this one your favourite, because I'm going to drop not some spoilers for next week necessarily, but I'm just going to say we still haven't reached my favourite yet.
I have heard very good things about the new one, which is why I'm avoiding everything, because I have been told there's potential spoilers with it. So I've not even watched the trailer. I've keeping clear of absolutely everything. As I said, the Arthurian story I like most out of all the stories.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you've got, it's not just Indy being a whip cracking adventure guy. You know, you've got him kind of being put in his place by his dad, repeatedly calling him Junior and Indiana. We called the dog Indiana. I think that kind of deflating of his macho balloon is one of the things that makes this work so well. But you do still have the big action scenes. You've got a boat chase. You've got a Zeppelin plane scene. You've got going through tunnels with lots of rats and things. Yeah. It's still got all of the same adventure type stuff, but I think there's an extra layer that's added by the sort of intelligent humour that Connery and Denham Elliott. I mean, the scene where Connery and Ford are in the castle. He's tried to rescue his dad. He's fucked it up completely, and they're at machine gun point with the Nazis who demand the diary. Connery says, "You think my son would be so stupid as to bring it with him?" You didn't, did you? Connery's calling out Elsa as a Nazi. He doesn't listen, hands the gun over. She says, "Oh, you should have listened to your father." He's just constantly being taken down a peg and shown to be completely fallible. Yeah. And then when she says, "Oh, we don't even need him to tell us," he's given it to Marcus Brody. And they say, "Well, get after him. We'll catch him easily." No, you won't. He knows. He's got friends in every country from here to the Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages. He knows every local custom. He'll fit in. He's probably got the Grail already. And then you flash to him walking through a bazaar somewhere in India or somewhere saying, "Does anyone speak English?"
Yeah, I definitely think of all
So
three,
good.
this one gets the best balance. I think this gets the balance right between, like you said, the action, the comedy, the drama, the kind of father-son relationship. This really actually balances all of those really quite well.
Yeah.
Plus, you still have the phenomenal score and excellent direction. I don't think we've given Spielberg enough credit this episode, but I mean, look, don't get me wrong.
He's the guy that makes these work.
100%.
It's not... Lucas had an eye... As he does with everything, he's a big picture guy.
Yep.
He came up with a concept that, look at not even that original, really.
Oh, no,
when
not
you
at
break
all.
it all down,
Yeah.
you take the whip away, it's fucking Alan Quatermain.
Yeah.
There's been some excellent design. The iconic look that they created, the idea of having the bullwhip, which is pretty inspired.
Yeah.
He's created a concept, but it's really Spielberg that's, I think, made it the success that it's been.
Yes, yeah. And don't get me wrong, this series isn't... I don't think any of these films touch Jurassic Park for me, which will always be my highest Spielberg film.
Well, that's silly. It's a good film.
Look, you can have...
You've seen Jaws, right?
Yeah, Jaws is great. Jaws is probably second, maybe third. Close Encounters is really good. But yeah, like, he definitely makes this franchise what it is. Spielberg knows how to do this kind of family-friendly version of adventure. And I use the words family-friendly kind of loose because in hindsight, there's a lot of stuff that's not...
It's all a bit rapey.
Yeah. But at the time, Yeah. But it just, a lot of fun, this series. So last Crusade, I'm also giving an 8 to, exact same as Raiders for me.
Yeah, I'm going to give it an 8, but it's a higher 8.
Yeah.
smidge higher.
Yeah.
But it's not a 9. It could kind of be an 8.5. I'll give it an 8.5 just to make it clear.
All right. The kind of thing where if we were scoring on like out of 100 basis, it'd be a difference of like, 5 to 6, 7 points or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just in one other question. So for you, is Harrison Ford Indy or is he Han Solo?
He's Han Solo, and he always will be. Like, I enjoy these movies, and I think he's great in the role, actually. I actually just think that he gets better and better in this role. I think, like, Raiders is fantastic, but I think by the time you get to Last Crusade, I do think that he is performing better. And I think he's great in this role, but to me, he's Han Solo. Like, that's who I've been watching. I think there's years.
I don't know if it's whether Han Solo is a more clearly defined persona.
Well, I do think there is that too.
There is more consistency in the performance. Han Solo has a very clearly defined personality.
Yes,
that sort of that roguish, chaotic good, if you're in D&D parlance.
Yeah, true.
Whereas Indiana Jones, apart from the kind of arrogance and slight misogyny, there's not a lot of consistency really in the character between these films.
He's definitely
other than the fact he's a bit of an asshole.
Him to be.
And I don't think that's Ford's fault. I think it's just the rotating roster of writers.
Yeah.
So the story and the character kind of ebb and flow as the writers change. Whereas even though you've got different writers going through Star Wars, the character, I think, was so clearly set up in Episode 4.
Yes. Yeah.
That no one really needed to do anything with him. He almost wrote his own dialogue because of the character.
Yeah.
Was so clearly defined.
I think it also helps
I'm with
that
you.
Star Wars
He's Han Solo.
Star Wars has much more of a defined through line and defined character arcs for all of those characters. Whereas this, like you said, this kind of, it jumps around in time for one thing, but there's not really that much through line across any of these films, I don't think.
You don't get character development for Indiana Jones other than the fact he gets older and slower.
Yes.
By the time you get to the fourth one.
Well, I'm curious to watch the fourth one now. I wonder if I will be one of the people who enjoys it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm pretty excited, actually. So yeah, that's next week. Next week we'll be doing the double header of Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny. So you are excited for Dial of Destiny, though? You've heard good things.
I mean, a friend who is a massive Indiana Jones fan did message and listens to the show. So hi, Simon. Did message me literally walking out of the cinema going, "This thing's the best movie ever made. You better not shit on it on the podcast."
I'm curious to see how next week goes then. It's gonna be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah. Certainly talking about Crystal Skull is gonna be fun.
And we're gonna have fun now because we're gonna record a little patron bonus as well, starting a new series looking at music, which is gonna be real fun. So if you want to hear that, we
listened to a thing.
Yeah, if you want to hear that, then go over and check out our Patreon page. We may at some point release it on the main feed, but I think we'll keep it private for the patrons for at least a good couple of months, I reckon. We also need to start thinking, mate. We are dangerously close to episode 300, and I think we've got to do something special for that.
Well, surely we're going to do Zack Snyder's 300.
Well, we'll think about it. We'll put a
This is Sparta.
Put a pin in that. But in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle at wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and we'll catch you next week.
See ya.